I'm Karen Innocent, Executive Director of Continuing Education for Wolters Kluwer, and I'm going to talk about the value of Lippincott Continuing Education. Before someone invests in continuing education, you need to answer a few questions and find out that the content behind the CE matters. What content is the source of the continuing education that you're seeking? Is it from general content for any type of user, or is it specific to the needs of your audience or your own particular goals as a professional? Is the content peer-reviewed? Is it based on the principles of evidence-based practice? Is the provider accredited or an approver? And how long has that provider been around? Are you able to get access to your records in the future? Continuing education is more than just amassing credits or earning certificates. Continuing professional development is lifelong learning. It is the process of tracking and documenting your education that you have learned over time. It can be from formal or informal learning, and it is from experiences that you've had as well as educational offerings that you've participated in. Continuing professional development can be from a number of different ways that you can earn it. Practically speaking, continuing education is a method of learning formally, or it is an informal way of getting education to develop yourself as a professional. And it is the underlying practice and skills and competency that forms your career. Let's look at the reasons for taking CE. For the individual, there is continuing education requirements for license renewal. And in the US, more than 50% of the states require continuing education. And also, individuals who have board certifications need to take continuing education in order to maintain their certifications. And in general, all professionals need to have continuing professional development in order to stay current in their practice. For institutions, there are different reasons for earning continuing education or for providing continuing education to employees. One of those reasons is accreditation. For example, there's Joint Commission accreditation for various disease-specific topics that institutions must maintain. And in order to maintain those certifications, they must require that their employees take specific courses. Also, there's areas to support the ongoing quality improvement of an institution. And there's some standards that have been set by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services that requires that employers provide mandatory training to their employees to meet those quality standards. And then there's still some other opportunities that institutions will follow through on, such as the attainment of ANCC magnet status. So there's institutions that provide continuing education and support their employees toward professional development to attain additional awards and recognition as an institution. So better education equals better outcomes and better reimbursement for institutions. What is continuing professional development? Continuing professional development for the individual means the active participation in one's own lifelong learning. It can be any type of activity, whether it's formal or informal, that the individual engages in, including conferences and seminars and workshops. Continuing professional development is participating in continuing education, and it is really the hallmark of being a professional. What is the process of continuing professional development? As a process, continuing professional development consists of learning activities that add to a nurse's or other health professionals' foundational and experiential learning, along with increasing the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. They support a professional's improvement in their practice role. These activities may affect their clinical practice, education, research, administration, theory development, and outcomes improvement, all that will eventually benefit patient outcomes. What about mandatories and competencies? Now, mandatories and competencies are usually associated with institutions. Mandatory education focuses primarily on safety, and they're courses that are provided by an employer to support national or state governmental agency licensing and also accreditation. Competencies are knowledge and skill-based educational programs that support the knowledge and skills needed to support one's role in an organization, for a different level in the organization, or one's specialty. And they are specific programs that can be developed by the institution where one works or made available by organizations like Lippincott. Now, how do we provide continuing education to the public? At Lippincott, we have the CEConnection, which is available at Lippincott NursingCenter.com. CEConnection is home to the largest collection of continuing education activities available online. There are more than 30 new continuing education activities added to CEConnection each month, more than any other website. Now let's talk about the accreditation. As I mentioned before, the accreditation also is important to a provider. And Lippincott CE is accredited by many national organizations and state organizations. They include the American Nurses Credentialing Center Commission on Accreditation, which has provided Lippincott with accreditation with distinction, and the Accreditation Council for Continuing Medical Education, which provides us with accreditation with commendation for our high level of quality of a program. There are other national and state accreditations that Lippincott applies for, including cardiovascular technology, radiology, case management, respiratory therapy, and social work. So what is unique about Lippincott Continuing Education? We are one of the longest tenured continuing education providers available. Established in 1978 for nursing, our Lippincott Continuing Education has been offering continuing education across a wide variety of topics and specialties. And we have more than 30 specialties that we provide continuing education for. In addition, Lippincott publishes the largest number of new continuing education courses every year. There are more than 400 new continuing education activities published annually. In addition, Lippincott's award-winning journals are all peer-reviewed, and also we provide continuing education to more than a dozen specialty societies, a recognition that is not available by any other organization. Let's consider some of the following recognition that we receive from other organizations. So don't just trust what we're saying, just look at what others are saying about Lippincott CE. For example, the recognition that we receive from ANCC, accreditation with distinction, and the recognition from the ACCME, the accreditation with commendation, support the assertion that Lippincott's continuing education is higher than many other organizations. None of CEConnection's competitors have National Library of Medicine recognition. Only journals that have rigorous research, scholarly writing, and editing standards are included in National Library of Medicine. And Lippincott has a dozen activities that fit into that category. A large number of very important nursing and health professional societies have selected Lippincott Continuing Education to be their publisher and official continuing education provider. This is another independent endorsement of our quality. In summary, CE is important to professional nurses and allied health professionals because it supports your lifelong learning and improve client and patient outcomes. Lippincott is one of the largest running continuing education providers with more than 30 years of tenure in the field. And we hold accreditation with distinction from ANCC and accreditation with commendation from ACCME. Lippincott CE is unique compared to other continuing education providers because we have the largest collection of continuing education offerings in the widest range of specialties. We also have been selected by many societies as their publisher and CE provider, and our content has met rigorous standards of the National Library of Medicine. Thank you.